This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome Nolan Del Campo all the way from Santa Cruz today on a beautiful little mini vacation. Where'd you go? Oh, he fell off. All right, let's welcome Harriette Sucher.
Yeah, good morning. How's it going?
Good morning. Going pretty good. Can't complain. We've got another sunny day ahead of us after another day of storming. Just wacky California weather. We'll go ahead.
So I was going to say, I was scheduled to have a sudden, quick surgery, and then I was wondering how we're going to get down there. Anyways, and then she thought it was pouring rain, roads are falling apart, going towards Sonoma. So yeah, it's kind of a good thing it didn't happen.
Right? What do you mean the roads are falling apart?
Oh, we've been there, localized flooding everywhere from Hopland Grade all the way, the Hopland area all the way down to Sonoma. Homes were falling into the river. Wouldn't have been a good time to go.
No, not at all. So we're basically eroding underneath all this water that we're getting.
Oh, yeah, everything's just... I have a friend who's in Lake County who travels back and forth between here and Lake County. She says, I've never seen so much water on both sides of Highway 20 and Highway 29. It's just unreal.
Oh, my goodness. I feel like that was a common place that would flood back when I lived in the Napa area. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, so let's go ahead and start with our show. We'll wait to see if Nolan picks back up and catches on with us again. I'm going to start with some YouTube comments, and I have some questions for you, Harriette. So basically, at Dubs Stepkid 801 says, thank you for all your work. I really appreciate when people come out and say that, because I think very few people understand that I am doing this on my own time and my own dime. And this is a lot of work. So I'd like to give a shout out to anybody who throws appreciation our way, because Harriette as well has spent thousands and thousands of hours doing what she does. Nolan has been with us time after time after time. And in fact, he's actually been around and one of my close friends since I started this case, well before I started this case in 2009. So he's been following me every step of the way. And I welcome both of you. Thank you both for your participation always. I did get another YouTube comment from a gentleman at Casbah6717, and it said, we need to talk. So I checked out his profile on YouTube, and I see that he has a two-part video on JonBenet Ramsey. And of course, I did reach out to him, and he did send me a mass of emails with what looks like he's trying to write a book, but he gave me all this information, which was really kind of hard to decipher. I had a question for you, Harriette, because he indicated that he believed that the Santa Claus was the murderer of JonBenet Ramsey. However, he states that it's a bill, and I don't recall what the name was. I wasn't familiar with it. I hadn't seen it before. But wasn't Bill White the Santa Claus at the Christmas party?
I really don't recall that, but I just did the Santa Claus postcard for the Joan Webster cold case. How weird.
The Joan Webb?
That It's called the Santa Claus postcard in a window envelope with 4 George Washington stamps. I can go on and on. I just decoded that. And
but who's that in regards to? Who's that in regards to?
It's the Santa Claus postcard. That's 1981, early 1982, with a lot of cryptic, weird stuff on it. And I was able to decode that. So it's really weird you're saying Santa Claus, the guy, the Bill White. There was a lot of things going on. The John Benet Ramsey and party and the get together. But
right. Well, we haven't even hit John.
Him.
We haven't even hit John Benet Ramsey yet. But who is this? The Santa Claus postcard is in regards to the death of who?
Joan Webster. And it's really huge. But anyways, it's really strange that you guys are bringing this up. And I said, I just posted that at my blog. Okay.
When did Joan Webster die? Do I have her in my presentation? Do you know? Is she a suspected Zodiac victim?
There's a lot of people who think she's a Zodiac victim because of how the card in the postcard was sent. I'm sorry, the card in a window envelope was sent, but she's November 28th, 1981. And
I can see.
Killer, but he has a lot of information on who did.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's just hop right back into our Keddie Cabin murders. We left off last week discussing a murder of a family, kind of Manson style, in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, really, Plumas County, where 4 individuals were killed. The mother, her son's friend, and her daughter had been taken. The youngest daughter had been taken and subsequently murdered at a later date, or murdered and removed. We're not exactly sure, though one of the eyewitnesses has stated he watched them walk her out the back door. Well, welcome sideways. There you are, Nolan.
What's going on?
Good morning, Nolan.
Good morning. You're sideways.
Yeah.
Give that.
He's sideways like many of Jack Torrance's stamps.
Yeah. As a matter of fact. Anyways, let me get back to this. It looks like he's still having some technical difficulties. So we left off. The most widely accepted theory involves a love triangle between Martin, Marilyn, and Sue. And to catch you up with that, Martin was a roommate, I believe, of wait a minute. Martin, Marilyn, and Sue. So I believe Martin, yes, was sleeping on the couch of, let's see if we can go back and find out what his name is, because now I've lost his name, even though they actually ruled him out based on a polygraph. Let's see. Can't believe. Okay, Justin is the son. Father was... So Marilyn Smart, Marty's wife and mother of Justin, left the husband the day after. So supposedly there was supposed to be some love triangle between Martin, which was Marilyn's husband's friend that was sleeping on the couch, and Sue, which was the woman that was killed. It was believed that Martin and Sue were having an affair, and that Sue was supposedly counseling Marilyn to leave her husband, who she said was abusive to her. When Martin discovered this, he enlisted Bo, his friend. Okay, so no. Martin, Marilyn, and Sue, a love triangle. How is that? So supposedly Marilyn, okay, and Bo, his friend, was the one that was sleeping on the couch, and known mob enforcer who had lived with the Smarts a mere 10 days before the Keddie murders to take Sue out of the picture. This would account for Marilyn leaving her husband the day of the murder discovery. It would also explain why Smart Boy and other sharp boys in the adjoining room were spared. Additionally, it gives context to Martin's handwritten note that Marilyn gave to the Plumas Sheriff's Department. Some investigators who picked up the case when it reopened in 2013 tied the slayings into an even larger plot. To Gamberg, it is clear that the DOJ and Thomas run Sheriff's Department. Cover it up is the way it sounds. He alleges that Bo and Martin fit into a larger drug smuggling scheme that involved the federal government. Martin was a known drug dealer, and Bo was connected to Chicago crime syndicates with financial interests in drug distribution. This might explain why the Sacramento DOJ sent 2 allegedly corrupt organized crime special agents instead of agents from the homicide department. It also provides an explanation as to why the 2 lead suspects were seemingly given a free pass and told to leave town by Sheriff Thomas. So now we're seeing some type of conspiracy here between the FBI, the Sheriff's Department, and the Sacramento Department of Justice. Furthermore, it suggests an answer as to why this case was handled so sloppily remains unsolved and is seemingly not a priority to the Sacramento DOJ. What is known is that 37-year-old the 37-year-old crime is far from a cold case, as new evidence sheds light on what may have occurred at Cabin 28 in Keddie, California. Although both Martin Smart and Boo Debe are now deceased, new DNA evidence has pointed investigators to other suspects who may have had a hand in these murders and who are still alive. So now we're talking about, again, a group of people. And it seems to me that if they have DNA that points to other people and not to Martin and not to Bo, that these two individuals were given the opportunity to skate town for a reason. And maybe it is because Bo was actually somebody who was reporting or an informant for the FBI. Says, it's my belief that there were more than two people who were involved in the totality of the crime, the disposal of the evidence, and the abduction of the little girl, Hagwood said. We're convinced that there were a handful of people that fit those roles who are still alive. Very interesting. We also see down here another, and I showed you guys last week, so I look at this particular crime scene photo, and it has a particular knife and a particular hammer in it. But when we looked at them last week, that knife and that hammer are not the same as we're looking at in the other pieces of evidence. So are we just being thrown out images again? Are any of these actually real or attributed to the murders? Are all of them attributed to the murders? I'm not sure, because they claim to have only found a knife and a hammer and then later found another knife and a hammer. So who knows really at this point? I just see that the evidence pictures that they're showing are different from one to the next. The one inside of this particular picture of crime scene murder weapons, the knife does not have the actual, I don't know what the technical name is for that ring that goes around the edge between the blade and the actual handle, but that's missing. We see the knife is much larger, not the same shape. It looks like it has a wood handle with rivets in it. And then the hammer itself also appears to be a bit different. Oh, wait a minute. So I picked up a couple other statements that said, regardless, the murder scene was a vicious, violent, and bloody one. Doug Thomas, Plumas County Sheriff at the time of the murder, stated whoever did this, and there was more than one person, had to have blood all over them. The murder weapons were believed to have been left at the scene. So here, I think, is where they're saying, and that's where I got this picture, some kitchen knives and a claw hammer. Later, a second bloody knife was found a little ways away in a trash bin behind the Keddie General Store. A Daisy 880 pellet rifle is also thought to have been used in the attack. I hadn't heard about anybody being shot by pellets, but they would know. It goes on to say that Justin Eason Smart, 12 years old, was interviewed at first. He claimed to only have dreamed about the murders. Interesting. Later, he confirmed that he'd witnessed the murders. Some have suggested this means Justin was involved in some way, but I see it as a traumatized young boy who saw something horrible and didn't know how to process it. At one point, Justin was put under hypnosis, and he gave a description of the suspects, two men that he'd supposedly seen Sue speaking with, and that would have been these composites back here. So this is the composites that Justin Smart gave. Let's see. One had a mustache. The other was clean shaven with long hair. Justin said that when John and Dana returned from their party, they began arguing with the men and the confrontation became violent. So again, we're not sure where these two men pop up out of, if they're the actual people who gave the rides home to John and Dana, because they were said to have been hitchhiking home, and it could have been the actual driver or individuals who gave them a lift. Justin said that Tina returned home a short time later and was escorted outside by one of the men, although some sources say that he said Tina was already home sleeping. So his story's kind of up in the air and changing, and we're really not sure what to make of it, is basically where they're going. The two men then killed Sue, John, and Dana. The sketches were put out to the public, but they never resulted in any definite suspects or identifications. I noted that the murders actually caused people to move out of the area, the small town population being reduced to approximately 60 people. And then we see PG&E blast a pipeline right through this ghost town. So I had a couple theories popping up in my head there. Anybody have any?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, we can. Welcome back.
Yeah, I had lots of difficulties. Lost the Wi-Fi on my tablet. Now I'm on my phone.
Oh, wow. You got great sound for future reference.
It's a new phone.
And do either of you have any last comments? We're gonna head right on out of the Keddie Cabin murders.
Yeah, two comments. One, isn't it alleged that most of the weapons were found at the scene, but they think some were taken away from the scene, correct?
Yeah, and that really kind of boggles me, because why take one or two away when you left primarily all the rest of them at the crime scene?
Right.
I mean, which one set up this? Go ahead.
The other thing is that the boys changed their stories.
Yes.
First
well,
they said they
Justin,
slept through it, and then they said they saw the guys.
Right. Yes. It went from I dreamt it to I saw it to I'm not sure. Yeah, there was definitely some differences, but I just to kind of explain that in the last information I was given is that if Justin Smart, the son of one of the accused suspects, which he actually looks like he was cleared through DNA and polygraph and other such things, even though he purportedly had written a letter to his wife. Here's the thing. He may have said he was responsible for those 4 deaths, not in the essence that he actually killed these individuals, but that he was the one that set this entire thing up because he lived next door to this particular family.
Yes, he was involved, obviously. And
to some degree.
Yes. And he admitted it. He admitted his involvement. He didn't say he did the stabbing or whatever, but he said he caused it.
He basically said that the cost of her love was 4 people's lives.
Wow.
My browser has lost connection. What in the world?
I can see your pictures, but I can't see you. I can hear you.
Very interesting. So I have lost my video. Here, I'm going to try to pop out and come right back in. That's
You're
crazy.
messing with us today. Yeah. Hey, people. Greetings from Santa Cruz, California.
Well, greetings from Ukiah, California.
Oh, you're in Ukiah now? Are you still in the hospital?
Apparently learning more about these wounds that happened to me. But anyways, that's not what we're here for. So.
I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. All right, well, that's gonna. So you were mentioning that Martin Smart had actually taken part in it to some degree, while he admitted to his wife that the cost of her love was 4 people. And I think that even that could be interpreted by the fact that she purportedly left him the day the murders occurred. So she basically decided and maybe it was because he became a suspect. Who knows why she decided to leave that particular day. But the statement that her love, he attempted to, or he lost her love due to these 4 murders, or that was the cost of her love, could simply mean that this particular scenario cost them their relationship, even though he hadn't done anything. We don't know what the context of the rest of that letter is.
Correct.
All right, Harriette, did you have any last minute words on Keddie?
I'm suspecting that it has something to do with the mob connections, and somebody knew stuff they weren't supposed to know. The kids were witnesses to something they probably weren't fully aware of, and it's just really sad that so many people did lose their lives over something that maybe shouldn't have happened.
You know my brain.
A romantic thing too. I think maybe the woman, the mom that got killed, maybe she rejected one of the guys, either the neighbor or one of the killers. I'm thinking the neighbor.
Well, I mean, if Martin Smart is, his friend Bo is there for 10 days previous to the murders occurring, he's connected to the mob. He's an informant, supposedly. They're told to skedaddle and get out of town, so they're given the free right to just walk away from this entire mess instead of hang around and be investigated for it. I don't know. To me, it throws me back into that whole conspiracy theory, because PG&E comes through and blasts through their gas line through an area that was once, or it was basically kind of like a camping town, if you will. It's up in the middle of the hills. And of course, this happens at cabins, and it reduces the population to about 60 people, giving them kind of free reign to just blast their lines right on through.
Right.
Sounds to me like.
Why would law enforcement encourage suspects to get out of town?
Never heard of that.
Keep them around.
Yep, never heard of that. So somebody didn't want them who knew something to be around, I think, to talk about it. And again, Martin Smart evidently passed a polygraph test, and they stated now they've got DNA, and that DNA matches other individuals, but I don't know if they know who those individuals are more than they know that that DNA does not match Martin and Bo. I have no idea. To me, it just sounded like another, you hear about these kind of things when they'll go in and decimate an entire community. Now, typically this is going to happen in some third world country so that they can come in and either ravage the natural resources or, do what they want to do, like blasting through these pipelines. And they have no problem killing people and putting people in graves in order to facilitate their means.
Or build a resort.
Exactly. There you go. All right, Harriette, that brings us to your stopped force busing solve from 3/1/1981, the envelope you sent me here recently, which was a new solve you just completed. I'm going to read the email that you sent me, and then I'm going to let you read that actual solve. So you said, "Hi, Nanette, the FBI files say the envelope information had Danbury Mint, Norwalk, Connecticut, want ads, classified, and the Cleveland Plain Dealer." Now, going back to the Cleveland Plain Dealer, do we know who owns the Cleveland Plain Dealer?
The same
I don't know.
people who own the Portland, Oregon. The same people own the Portland Oregonian and a whole mess of other papers. Once I saw that, I said, I'm onto something.
Well, yeah, because the Cleveland Plain Dealer, I believe, was in that list of the inserts that were included in the force busing letter. It says, anyways, we know that this same time period, March 1981, ad was in paper. Daniel, please call home. We did not show about that. I'm not sure. We did the show about that. This appears to be another facsimile to Jimmy Carter, and Jack is recapping what others said, that he's okay. He's signing off as no one again, but with added angel number 444, which is reassurance, support, and protection. I wish I could find the very clear force stop busing letter where I saw a camouflage J over the F. You had found it in 2018, which you've seen Jack do this often. He brings up an Ina, a secret P.O. box in a latitude, longitude 0 location, North Clear Lake, Texas. We know he had a zillion of them. FYI, that is League City area. Oh, really? Well, we're going to get this. This is going to get interesting. And NASA ops were there 1960s on. Anyway, have a great weekend. All right, Harriette, you want to read that solve for us?
Okay. I don't have it before me, but I know what it's saying.
Here, I'll read it. I'll read it, and then you can, decipher it for us. So it says, Mr. Carter, IO 3181 6:56:57 a.m. 209 Woodland Drive, Plains, Georgia. Facsimile. CC King Bush still alive 78 NN Nomenesio, I think, and you referred to him as Jack. Danto made a deal switching Richard Nixon classified 1144 Dan Cooper, TNF, California. What is TNF?
Bajo National Forest. He's trying to quickly recap about what happened to the victims that, during that era of the Dan B. Cooper, jumping out of the plane. So Correct. He's referring to Donna Lass and swearing in the remains there.
Okay. And then the Holy See, Archbishop, Pope John Paul II, AA. What is AA?
Alcoholics Anonymous, UC Davis, though. So he's trying to quickly recap. And I'm shocked.
Okay.
He's saying,
okay. Right now, before I have you describe, I'm just trying to get the message out there. So Alcoholics Anonymous saves sick MK Ultra, ill me. If want, use the Cleveland Dealer newspaper business reply, first class 18-cent envelope, send it over by mail under Ina Flova Barnett, top secret, at location P.O. Box, North Clear Lake, Texas. I'm 444, okay, no one. So that got really interesting because we know Flova is back in Clear Lake. As a matter of fact, during this time frame, you're stating that there is some type of a P.O. box in Clear Lake, Texas, and then that Clear Lake, Texas P.O. box is in the vicinity of League City, which is where the Tim Miller stuff takes place.
Exactly. I was when I was doing this one, which was a little bit of a surprise, I said, oh, well, this is the next one I'm going to do no matter what. Anyways, what I do is I see, once I'm clearing away all these puzzle pieces, I see what's left, and I saw Ina Flova Barnett. I said, oh my God, he's bringing up about his mom in this one.
That's insane.
Like cream coming to the surface. I said,
right.
Wow.
Well, and even more interesting is that we're in 1981 when this message is sent, March of 1981. It's 1984, I believe, that Tim Miller's daughter is killed, correct? I want to say that that's the year.
So. Yep.
Just within a couple years, really. So he's already in the area, already probably setting up whatever this is going to be. And we'll see where this goes, and we'll see. But Laura Miller, I believe, dies in 1984, which is very, very close to the time frame of this particular message. All right. Well, let's see what else we said here. So Cleveland Plain Dealer, that goes back to another newspaper once again. He's talking about the Archbishop. Like you said, he's recapping the Dan Cooper stuff in the Tahoe National Forest. Let's see, top secret location, the P.O. Box. So it didn't actually give a number for the P.O. Box?
I tried looking in vain, but I said, well, there's a reason why it's just kind of top secret. And you got to understand that's also, that area had the Johnson Space Center, the stuff where Robert Abel worked. So a lot of classified things in that part of Texas. So apparently he has some kind of post office box there.
Well, and we know he speaks
them.
The Tim Miller suspect, or the Laura Miller suspect of Laura Miller's death, and many of what he calls the I-45 killings and the League City deaths, does actually call out that Abel is not the devil that League City is searching for. So I really don't know where to go with all of that information, but I'm sure once we get to that letter, you'll make some sense out of that for us, Harriette.
Yes.
All right. So that brings us to May 29th of 1981. We have Carmen Rivera, who is killed in Hayward. It is on the murder map of Sandy Betts, and I didn't have any information on it. And it kind of then flips-flops back and forth. I believe this is June 6, 1981 in Florence, Italy. They have another Lover's Lane murder. So there's this set or series of Lover's Lane murders that occurs over in Florence, Italy. Not that I necessarily think that the Zodiac or Jack was responsible for this, but could the group be responsible for whatever it is that's going on here? Very likely. It says Foggy and DiNuccio on June 1981. He's a warehouseman, Giovanni Foggy, 30 years old, and shop assistant Carmela DiNuccio, 21, were shot and stabbed near Scandici, where the engaged couple both lived. DiNuccio's body was pulled out of the car, and the killer cut out her pubic area with a notched knife. The next morning, a young voyeur, paramedic Enzo Spalletti, 30, spoke about the murder before the corpses had been discovered. Ooh, very interesting. He spent 3 months in jail and was charged with the murder before the perpetrator exonerated him by killing again.
Wow. How did he know though?
Exactly. So you have somebody who has inside information. This just like brings up John Mark Carr and, Henry Lee Lucas, these individuals being given information. But yeah, so this guy knows about it before the couple's bodies are discovered, and actually almost takes the rap for it before the killer actually kills again. And I would say these are all, several months apart. It's not as if they're doing these back to back or within a very limited time frame. I think that this stuff over in Florence, Italy has been going on for a minute here. Oof, and this is the one we've been waiting for. July 27th, 1981, Adam John Walsh. Sears, he's purportedly kidnapped from Sears in Vero Beach, Florida. And then we have some involvement with Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas as suspects. Again, this circle just doesn't, it absolutely blows my mind that we keep wrapping around these same individuals as if their patsies are going to continually be almost the same people over and over again. They tried to close a couple hundred cases on Henry Lee Lucas, who again had inside information, just like the paramedic Enzo Spalletti. He has information before the bodies are even found that these individuals are dead. And we have Henry Lee Lucas, who has information, inside information to crimes that he didn't commit, that he couldn't have possibly read in any newspaper, which meant somebody was feeding that to him as well. Seems like that whole tangent of information, inside information, continues on and on and on with these particular cases. So it says, how did John Walsh's son Adam die? On July 27th, 1981, Adam John Walsh was abducted from a Sears department store in Florida with his mother. Reeve had left him near the gaming area where he watched older boys play video games and advanced to a nearby store to continue shopping. Barely within 10 minutes, she returned for him, but he was nowhere to be found. Frantic to learn that her son had gone missing, she checked with security, and camera footage revealed that Adam followed a group of older boys and seemingly got kidnapped from outside the mall. Walsh finished his graduation after he moved to Florida, where he married Reeve, his longtime girlfriend, and their first son, Adam, was born in 1974. Tragedy stuck in his life when he lost his son to a gruesome murder, and in 2008, the late serial killer Otis Toole was officially named as Adam's killer. So is that your information, Harriet? Is that Otis Toole was named the murderer?
It's ridiculous information, but I think
I know that.
They just tried to name him, but he's not the killer.
No.
He's definitely not the killer.
No. The Walshes launched a massive hunt.
Close it up and go away. Anyways.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. And how is it that they picked O'Toole, somebody so closely related to Henry Lee Lucas, that we then see, I think, sometime here in the 1980s, that the entire Texas Ranger system attempts to allow Henry Lee Lucas to take culpability for a couple hundred crimes he obviously didn't commit. And even that became a scandal in which either a district attorney or an attorney in one of the cases had called out Henry Lee Lucas as lying about having committed that crime, and that he had inside information nobody else could have had. And how did he get it? Which ultimately called out the Texas Rangers, who actually paraded Henry Lee Lucas around on TV to everyone, trying to actually massively close over 200 cases across the United States. And what was their purpose for this? Like, what's their involvement that they want cases, not only their own cases, but other cases afar, closed on this same individual? Very, very mind-boggling. The Walshes launched, what's that? Corruption, exactly.
Corruption, systemic corruption everywhere.
Says the Walshes launched a massive hunt for their son. Disturbingly, on August 10th, 1981, his severed head. So now we've got bifurcation once again. We've got mutilation, bifurcation, removal of body parts, which we've just been talking about last week. Severed head was discovered by two fishermen in a drainage canal in Vero Beach, Florida, and his body was never found. Over the years, criminals, not only Otis Elwood Toole, but serial killer Henry Lee Lucas, who also speculated to have been involved in the murder. So I had to pop these guys up. You got to see this. I mean, these people are tools. Now, of course, Otis Toole's last name is Toole, but I'm telling you, if you've seen these individuals speak, they are tools. So basically, we have Otis Toole at the top here. Says an American drifter and serial killer who was convicted of 6 counts of murder, like his companion Henry Lee Lucas, Toole made confessions which he later recanted, which resulted in murder convictions. So they literally were convicted of crimes they didn't commit because they lied about it, and they're literally just running around. I mean, we can see the two of these guys here hanging out together. Like, how is one of these responsible for John Walsh and the other responsible for the other 200 murders that I likely have in my presentation that I claim as part of this group? How big of a coincidence is that?
Crazy.
It's just a dumb big coincidence. I'm sorry, because I see this all the time, just like you do. Unreal. Right?
And then, of course, they've given us some and I just want to read for you a second something that Toole wrote to show you that he's a tool. He says, cannibals cuisine, because he can't spell cuisine. For me, the greater thrill is when I raps and kill slicing with my knife to find a woman's life, and I penetrate the hide to find out what's inside. There's only blood and shit, so I cut around. I think that's supposed to say each, but it starts with an F. Each titty is so nice. Oh my goodness, now there's writing it right over the top of this. When served up, fried with rice. Yes, pretty girls and sweet, but I lust for their meat prepared as a barbecue. When down with cold Mountain Dew. Washed down. Yeah, this man cannot spell.
So I have to take off early today. I have to get on the road.
All right, Nolan. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Yeah, next week for sure. Thank you.
It says,
bye, Nolan.
Dedicated to the only man who loves and understands me, Nathan Cole. Ooh, have you ever heard of a Nathan Cole?
No. This
Let
guy
us-
is too damn dumb to have done these.
I know.
It doesn't
But I'd
sound
like to know
right.
what he was convicted of if they state he was actively convicted. Let us be united forever in the hands of death. Beware the hands of death. And he has drawn a hand on this little communication. This is definitely not Zodiac style writing. It is clearly very deteriorated handwriting, very low level, uneducated handwriting. And his little doodles are even worse. But if you see his signature, my goodness, this man is barely capable of writing cursive. Looks like a fourth grader, actually. All right. So I did find another. It says Otis Toole letter to John Walsh. So now we have this connection, and maybe this is where they assumed that he was involved. I'm guessing that this says Dear Mr. Walsh, but it's the institution. It's being written out of Florida State Prison. It gives the actual prisoner number, Otis Edward Toole, on 9. He can't even make a date sequence correctly. Good Lord. He does 12,6,89. So 7 years after. I mean, what did we say this was? This is 81. So no, 8 years after he writes, Dear Mr. Walsh. Now let me see if you guys can perceive this letter to have any inclination that the man committed the murder, because when I read it, that's not what I felt. It says, I was glad to get a Christmas card from you. So John Walsh sends Toole a Christmas card? I'm a little confused. To a man that supposedly killed, beheaded, and the remains, the entire body of your son is gone missing. You're going to send him a Christmas card? I don't know about all that.
No.
No. It says, I hope you has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. My name is Otis Edward Toole. I am 42 years old. I am from Jacksonville, Florida. Mr. Nathan Cole, I will write you. You will help me out with a little money. It has to be in a money order. Okay, so maybe this card comes from this Nathan Cole that he's asking for help from. They tried to redact it. See, again, I don't understand why they do such lame redactions. So they redact who the Dear Mr. is that this is being written to, but then they blatantly leave the name wide open in the middle of the context. Mr. Nathan Cole, I will write you. You will help me out with a little money. It has to be in a money order. I will tell you my light show, Mr. Nathan Cole. I would like to has a picture of you, Mr. Nathan Cole. I will write soon. Your friend. Well, he started to say your friend, and then he corrects that and writes your friends, Otis Toole. But it says this is a letter to John Walsh, at least on the internet. And I mean, I've pulled where I actually retrieved this information from. It looks like letter.bestkitchenview.co. But they're claiming it's a letter to John Walsh. I don't see that. I see that it's a letter to Nathan Cole.
Yeah, yep, sounds like it.
Now, in this whole ordeal, you have made contact with Megan Walsh, correct?
Yeah, and it was, if I can be brief, I had already done, those scorpion ciphers and the letters. So somebody was contacting her and she was wondering, my God, is this really my brother? You definitely need to have her on the show sometime, because she was trying to stay out of the show business and all the other stuff that was, that her father and mother were involved with. But and I said, no, I have information that Adam is gone. But then shortly thereafter, that this is now a couple of years ago, I do the other letter, the remember me, the blah blah blah, the stenographic code that said that Adam lived on, but it was Dan Rand, another secret son of the Walshes, that was gone. And so I could go
So
on and on,
basically,
but be really brief. That Megan contacted me. She says, okay, she'd been watching the show, contacted me on Twitter. She says, can you do something with this? That's the Sentinel Star envelope and coded letter. My God. Yeah.
I have not seen this before, but it is extremely consistent with the Scorpion letters. It's extremely with the Vowinovich letter, the formatting, the way that
Mhm.
it's written, the way that the appearance is, many things that I look at in regards to this. Now, isn't the Sentinel Star also something that was, I'm sorry, a business that the anthrax letters were or fake anthrax
It's,
letters were mailed to
I
after
believe
the 9/11?
it's in the region, if I remember right. But what shocked me was I looked at it and she said, she'd been watching the show and she's like, I think this is Jack's handwriting. And I looked at it, it looked like it to me. So I started decoding it. I said, I'll be getting back to you in a couple of weeks. But the reason why you probably never seen this is because, according to Megan, she said it was her father's Adam Walsh FBI files. So you might want to do an FOIA request for those files. You might
So the
find
Sentinel
something else in there.
so the Sentinel Star is in Florida, correct?
I believe so. Yep.
I might have to, and I did not do any research on this. Forgive me for that. I feel like that the Star paper that the fake anthrax letters were mailed to after the initiated or the original anthrax letters were mailed. We had a couple fakes that went out to Malaysia and to the Star. And I feel like that was
Mhm.
also in Florida in my research. Again, that's well in advance right now. But I do find, again, the information interesting. So I'm going to at least read this here message and allow you to actually discuss the solve. It says Charlie Reese. And is Charlie Reese a editor at the Sentinel Star?
I believe so. Yep.
It says Charlie Reese, Sentinel Star. I met this guy in Ocala bar who said he knew someone that would pay 10 grand for a young boy. This guy had lost his kid and his wife was going nuts. We took the deal. He paid cash. I went to, it says Chi. I don't know what that was supposed to say. My friend stayed put. What's that?
I was going to say really quick, I believe it came out of Chicago because it was cut off very much consistent with how Jack would do some of his code systems.
Right. I went to, if it was Chicago, my friend stayed put. I get back and find this kid was killed. I know his name was Adam and he was from the islands. We got him in Hollywood, which they're meaning Hollywood, Florida. I don't know this man's name. We don't know mine, or he don't know mine. He is big beard and don't wear any shoes on his feet. He is crazy as hell, basically, is what I'm gonna, and I'm ad-libbing the HE at the end, would probably likely be the end of that particular sentence. All right, so let's take that to your solve because we've got about 6 minutes. It looks like here is what you have put together, and that brings us to the solve. Do you have that one to read, or do you need me to read that?
Maybe I have to read it, but I know he starts out saying, "I use shitty President Reagan," and then he screaming about Megan Walsh, and there's the picture of Megan on her own Twitter spot where she's a baby being held in the arms of Reagan with her mom and dad in there. So he's going ballistic for that. But
I don't think that I actually see the picture of her, but let's go ahead and read this. Washington, D.C. White House, why you shitty president veteran Ronald Reagan with Megan Walsh. Bobby the cook, spelled incorrectly, quote, nomen nescio, protected name, Father John Edward II. He needs to tell the truth. Sold 6-year-old Adam Walsh is now Lily Brandt for 10G to Defense Department, United States Air Force Master Sergeant Marion Petty, Tallahassee, Tallahassee City, Florida. Douglas Ammerman, is that?
Yeah.
CIA finders.
That's a confusing last name.
Yeah, it is. CIA finders Colt to tell the truth. You have no idea how information systems technician, U.S. Navy, 19-year-old vet might see the Brent knee Walsh taught in the arms of the nomen nescio protected name Father Walsh's limo. You kidding me? 8/31/69. I was Zodiac. Now I'm nothing. I witnessed saddest way to die as Sidney Gottlieb and George Hunter White push OSS Office of Strategic Services and CIA strain anthrax Frank Olson out the window. So you're saying there's a connection between the Ames strain, which is used in the anthrax letters, and Frank Olson?
Yeah, he was working on it. He had basically created it.
Oh.
So that was way back in the late 40s, early 50s.
So people think that people think he's pushed out over LSD when he could be pushed out the window for so many other reasons, it sounds like then. So pushed out the window, 11/28/53, ubi ius remedium. Where is the MK Ultra remedy? For the DE, President Dwight Eisenhower, Saudi 1953 execute order. Did Prescott Bush save U.S. Scott 322 1908 series Cincinnati, Ohio stamp the cure? I get even for nomen nescio Walsh, wife and mother. Switched IDs with Jeanette Kamahili. 1973 Franz Valley, Santa Rosa, 95404. Mistake, thus killing wrong. So you're saying that instead he was supposed to get Reeve?
There was a
Walsh?
hit on Reve Walsh because they couldn't stop what was happening. So Nixon and those other people, it sounds really horrible. They were tired of this crap, so they were going to try to take her out, but it was dark and he grabbed the wrong person.
Wow.
So he said he's going to get even and get the firstborn son.
Mistake, thus killing wrong. Okay, I'm going to finish this off. Was to do Nixon, EO, and assassinate Reeve. Girl. So got son, Dan Rand, and his boy was kicking and screaming. I used rope, tied him up, his hands and feet. I ripped head off, dumped it in the Highway 60 IRC, Florida. His body is at Jeep Trail back where Donna Lass lays, Lower Lake, California. So you're saying that the head was left there in Florida and the body was brought back to Lower Lake?
Yeah, because there's a lot of calls I have where they're talking about John Walsh and people connected to him right there at that same Jeep Trail where we went to because it's very close to Napa. So you can go 1,500 feet, you're in Napa County.
Well, I wonder if they found any remains of a small boy there that they haven't connected two and two together because they're literally completely across the United States. That might be an interesting thing to look at. I got about 1 minute. I'm going to finish this off. Back where Donna Lass lays, Lower Lake, California. Also, ISG, Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, 1970s heist. Bobby Donati is to die by 38 gun next in New England. So nomen nescio, no one, former Zodiac killer, you're calling it Jack Terrence. And then the envelope, I believe, is what we're looking at here. Is it will request Adam Walsh Star Sentinel, more to decode and add to main message. It says, to tell the truth, you have no idea how IT Vet 19, information systems technician, U.S. Navy veteran at 19 years old, might see the Brant Knee Walsh taught in the arms of the Nomen Nessio protected name father's limo. A limo was bugged, had a camera, sent transmission feed to Jack and his crew as he's still in the intel community in the early 1980s. All right, you got any last minute words about that? Because we've got about 15 seconds.
My last minute words is you got to get Megan Walsh on. She's interesting. She does podcasts.
And this is a communication she actively asked you to look at because she believed it was Jack's handwriting. We're going to drop it from there. You guys all have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next Friday, which will be Valentine's Day. And I look forward to discussing and opening up this can of worms and how it all relates to Rupert Murdock and the Fox Entertainment News, America's Most Wanted, Tom Voigt, Bart Baggett, all of the things that actually make this nice little ball. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Harriette.
Yeah.